Hey guys, so a huge post went up on Reddit just earlier where I typed out a whole bunch of stuff to do with the channel right now, my plans for pretty much every series that goes on YouTube, plus a bunch of new things as well, including a Patreon campaign and the start of a new Twitch stream. This video really is about me as a YouTuber, it's about views, it's about the progress my channel's been making, and it's got some kind of realness about my real life situation and stuff like that. Absolutely not standard fare. And if you're not interested in it, I understand completely. Now, this is a long video. If you get through maybe the first 5 minutes or so, there should be some annotations on the screen, actually, if I remember to do that. You can skip to a variety of different things. I think there will be something interesting for everyone, and the video is going to get very conversational in tone as we go forward, so just bear with it after like 5 minutes or so. So, first on the thread, I won't read all of this verbatim. I was talking about the previous update I did in which I wanted a bunch of upgrades, and I just wanted to give the status on what's happened there over the first half of 2015. After that, we'll talk more about the channel itself. If you've ever wondered what I do that makes me busy or how many projects and things I have going on, then this is where you'll get that information. First, I saved for several months and bought an Elgato HD60 capture card. This meant that we got 1080p 60 frames per second videos, which was a huge bump up from what we had before. But to run that and do that with any kind of efficiency, I needed a much better PC. So second, through a couple of generous donations, which I'd opened earlier in the year, and mostly because of the large family loan that I've had to pay off, I built a new PC as well. This meant no frame loss, it meant faster rendering, it's genuinely meant more and longer videos ever since then. And then number three, through the buy links, I can't contractually talk much about them, but through these and increased viewership as Heart of Thorns has rolled around, I've also now managed to get my hands on, with the help of Matt Visual, an audio interface and a new microphone, and these are the tests you've been seeing on Concrete Ducks, and it basically just means better sounding videos, and the voice is oh so important, right? So with this done, all those upgrades are now in place. I'm very happy with them. I'm looking to the future. Money is a little better at the moment, but as has been the case for 3 years now, I'm not actually earning above minimum wage for where I live. You know, I talk about that with Matt a lot on the podcast. It's probably not news to a lot of you guys. And in fact, there's a little suggestion to me that the benefits I've experienced so far in 2015 monetarily are going to actually persist. When Heart of Thorns releases, unless I start up some new stuff, unless I do new things, that's what most of this post is going to be about, I'm expecting another big drop-off, just as I experienced at the launch of the game, and that would be bad. So now, basically, is the time to try some new things. Strike while the iron is hot. So, let's start with YouTube. Now, with Heart of Thorns, obviously, I've been able to make a lot of videos over 2015. That much has been obvious. The year's basically been amazing, especially compared to the other 2 years that I've been a Guild Wars 2 content creator, and you know how little we've had to talk about previously. So I'm going to explain my thoughts on pretty much every series we currently run. First, the Q&A. I mentioned this in a recent video, but the Q&As have, in some ways, become like the truest staple of the channel. They're the longest running things we do. I've got no plans to stop making Q&As. They're fun, they're easy to make, and it's a great way for people to interact with me. A lot of people really like them. Honestly, the longer that the game exists, the more there is to learn about the game and specifically remember about the game as well in the past. I forget things, you know, that I may have learned when I first played through the personal story, for example. And the smarter your average player is going to become. And because of those reasons, I would have expected the Q&A series to have got less popular over time. You know, my opinions become more questionable. My responses to questions become less valid. And I sort of see signs of that, but so far, so good. People still really enjoy the Q&As. They're doing awesome. And I'm just hoping that as long as I'm honest when I make a mistake or I misinterpret something or I'm just plain, you know, ignorant on a certain topic, if on the next video I talk about it, mention the discussion that occurred in the comments, then I think we really have something good going on, and I love the Q&As. Moving on, Did You Know? So this series is a pretty cool one, but there's not too much to say about it. It's fun to make. They always take a little bit longer to make than I expect, and that puts me off making them, you know, as regularly as perhaps I could. Mythbusters I tried to do every week, but that's just not something I'm really interested in for Did You Know? And the downside to Did You Know videos is that because YouTube really values long videos rather than very short videos, it always ends up feeling a little bit hollow when a Did You Know video does very well. So for that reason, they're probably going to be infrequent, but I've still got tons of cool ideas. I've got this huge list of stuff from the Did You Know that will continue to go out on the main channel. In general, I'm a lot more confident with Did You Know than Mythbusters. I'm glad to bring that back because Mythbusters kind of stopped in 2014, late 2014, and I wanted to bring it back for a long time. So yeah, the Did You Know video is pretty cool. Next, we've got news videos. Now, this year's been incredible for consistent news content. In fact, I would argue and this might shock some of you guys, that the pre-release information that's been coming out for Heart of Thorns has been staggered in such a way that there's actually been a lot more for us to talk about and do content on than we even had leading up to the game's original launch. Now, yeah, when the game originally came out, there was a lot of news about it. There were interviews and articles across the whole spectrum. But back then, those people were basically all repeating the same stuff. It was another explanation of what a dynamic event was, another explanation of what the classes were. This year, I've been in a situation where 4 or even 5 videos a week can be news videos. That's not too uncommon. So, you know, I could do 3 Elite Specialization videos. I could do a patch news video, a data mine news video, a video on, like, dev posts on the forums. That one's a little bit rarer. I could be talking about betas and things coming up, conventions. Just look at this week as an example, the lot. So, I do enjoy doing these videos. They're easy, and they're certainly easy viewership. But I'm also not blind to the fact that no one's going to be watching these in subsequent months or years, for example. Like a Let's Play, I still sometimes get people, they go through and it stays relevant and fun. No one's going to really care about this stuff in the future, and why should they? What's the point? So these kind of videos don't really build my audience. Though I get a lot of views, subs don't really go up as fast as they could otherwise be doing if you know, did something else. So I'm not blind to this. When the expansion comes out and the news dries up, I'm going to need a lot of good stuff to replace that. That said, if Heart of Thorns doesn't flop, and we can actually expect similar news cycles and stuff like this for future expansions, I actually think the outlook for me and other Guild Wars 2 content creators has never been brighter, which is great. Alright, moving on, we've got Tyria 3D. Tyria 3D is basically done, guys. It's mostly complete. It's been a favourite of mine to make. I thought this was a really cool series. At first, I was a bit worried about it. You know, I did a lot of discussion with that shaman about it as well. Would ArenaNet be happy with this? How can I know as well how the community's going to react to see stuff like the Fissure of Woe and Fortune's Veil and countless PvP maps and all of this stuff that's gone to waste? When I started the series, I really wanted to believe that most of us in this community were reasonable and that we understood that iterative development isn't just something you say, it comes at a cost, and this was the cost. I think in general, people have shown that they do get that, and the response to it's been really good. Funnily, as like fascinated and as hyped as I get when I find a new Tyria 3D map and I look through, and I really enjoy these videos, viewership on these is actually a little bit on the lower side. Maybe it's the commentary, you know, maybe I don't have too much to say. Oh, we look over here and this is quite interesting. We look over here and this is quite interesting. Maybe it's the camera movements. A lot of people say that makes them feel sick. Maybe some people just don't care because it doesn't end up going in the game. That's certainly been a thing. And so, yeah, the series is pretty much done now. As far as maps are concerned, I've basically exhausted all the ones I care about enough to be in a video. And for the time being, the series is complete. However, we might see more maps after Heart of Thorns, and in that case, I'm definitely not against showing them off. At the moment, there's, like, you know, spoilery stuff that I don't want to touch. But when Heart of Thorns comes out, you know, it's kind of open field again. And another thing to think about as well is the stream. Now, there'll be more details about the stream in just a bit. But it will probably appear there as well. Maps will appear there. So even though the series is done, it's not a completely dead concept. Moving on, farm videos. Now, you don't see these much. But farm guides are super interesting. I don't do them that often. But they do very, very, very well. Now, it makes sense that they do very well. Active players care a lot about making money. They care a lot about having new ways to play the game if they're getting bored. So it gets searched a lot on YouTube. And they also have a lot of staying power as well. You can do a video, like a farm video, and it won't like get insane views early on. But over time, it gets a lot of traction. And that's because as long as the farm exists, people are going to hear about it from their friends, and they're going to want to search it up. They're going to want to see that guide. Now, to give you guys a clear idea of what I'm talking about, how good these are, the key farming video I did less than a year ago, alright? That key farming video is the 3rd most watched video on my entire channel now. Alright, and to be that big, okay, this video is bigger than most episodes of the entire lore series, alright? It alone has more views than entire playlists I've created. I reckon more people have seen that key farming video than people watched me play through all of the Tomb Raider games. It's a huge video. So it seems obvious to make more, right? Here's the thing, though. They're quite high effort to make. That's fine. I don't shy away from that. They're not too much fun to make either, but again, I don't shy away from that. And another thing to consider is it's quite a competitive scene as well. I'm not like some genius that's figured out this secret thing about these amazing videos that you can make in the Guild Wars 2 community. There are a lot of people who make like how to make gold videos and that style of thing. I really don't want to tread on those people's feet too much. I'm trying to be mindful of that. But these ideas, they are on my radar. A recent thing I did to kind of test the waters was that login login reward video. Now, that's probably the most controversial video I've done in like a year, maybe longer. You know, that got a bit of backlash there because it looked like one of these videos where I'm like, oh, just buy lots of accounts. By the way, here's a link so that you can buy the accounts and get me lots of money. You know, like I get that stuff. So, yeah, that was kind of testing the waters. I've shied away from it from now, but I will get back to this idea. Specifically, when Heart of Thorns releases and news dies down, that opens up the channel to do more stuff. And farms are going to be something you see more consistently at that point. Moving on, I want to talk about build videos as well. This is another series that we do, of course. They're in a very similar spot to the farm videos. They tend to do well, but they're sometimes not very exciting to make either, and they can be quite high effort to make as well. I really like making build videos on weird concepts, alright? So stuff like vampirism and trapping builds, as we saw. But as a weird concept, that kind of just means it's not going to interest too many people, as, say, a meta build will interest people. So you're likely to see these become infrequent just because my personal preferences don't line up 100%. But, for example, you'll notice I didn't even do a video on the current meta staff elementalist. In my opinion, I did a really good video on meta staff elementalist last year, but the specialization patch came out. It's obvious what you take, but I get a lot of requests for people saying, hey, make another one, make another one. For a while, I was thinking of making another one. You might see it, but because I know it will do well as a video, but I just don't have too much motivation, honestly, to cover the same staff build video that I already did when 90% of the information is the same, and then a patch comes out and you do it again, and a patch comes out and you do it again. Like, there are people that do that in this community, and maybe that could be their thing. It just bores me a little. As a note as well, you haven't seen World of Enders on the channel for a while since draft building and stuff like that ended. I think a lot of those collabs I do with him might continue to be on his channel rather than mine, but that's also something on our mind. We just don't really know what we want to record at the moment. All right, moving on. Competition videos. I got a lot of thoughts on these, but I'm going to try and keep brief. Those following me closely, you'll already know this. I was disappointed with my performance regarding the original giveaway in July. People put a shit ton of effort into their submissions, and while some people found that really fun and rewarding just to make it on their own, a number of other people didn't. Some submissions never appeared on the footage, and that really upset people. Some people pointed out that even the submissions I did end up going over, I kind of only glossed over them. I didn't go into crazy detail over them, even though someone had thought so meticulously about that crazy detail in the first place. Some people even kind of questioned my choice of the winner. You know, I guess these might be people with their own submissions, and they're like, mine's clearly so much better, a rifle thief is boring, and so on. So anyway, I've had my fair share of angry comments about this, but I'm not sure how to resolve the problem. Basically, it comes down to this. The competition videos are a ton of work. Work I want to be spending doing other stuff. Voting on submissions as a community to pick the winner instead is a really nice idea, but I can't really find a way to stop people gaming the system. Neither do I want to encourage us, because we're voting on it, to attack each other's posts, and especially because it's through Reddit, like downvoting and trying to hide other people's stuff just so that your one looks better by comparison. I want fair and fun discussion between them. I don't want it to be like this weird competition thing, even though it is a competition. And yes, I get the stupidity of what I just said. And the idea of voting as well, it still doesn't solve this problem that I'll get like 200 plus submissions, and to truly honor all of them means something like a 14-hour video. And that will never magically be produced. Yeah, I'm exaggerating, but this is a tricky subject. I do still want to run this kind of competition. At the end of the day, I could just give all the gems to people for sharing my videos and for clicking like on YouTube. And that would have been easy, that would have benefited me, and I would have got no aggro over it either, but I do want to be a bit more than that. I do want to give something back to the community. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom for what it's worth. The art was awesome. I've seen more likes on my videos recently than I ever have before, for a view basis, and that's people doing it for the competition. That's really good. And there are plenty more things we can do that aren't elite specializations. I'm just going to take it 1 month at a time. Moving on, we've got VisualWood. So, since becoming live, this podcast has been really fun to do. I really look forward to doing it each week. It's been awesome. There are no plans to stop doing the podcast. The VODs will keep going up on our special channel for it, VisualWood Podcast. Yeah, basically it's just a really cool way to spend an evening each week. We do get a lot less traffic on the podcast. When the podcast started and it was purely Guild Wars 2 and it was up there on Matt's main channel, yeah, it had a lot more people watching it. But I do think the show's better now. I really do. I spend all week talking about Guild Wars 2 all the time. Having just a spatter of it on the podcast is excellent for me. And it's a way to kind of think about the real world for a little while. So we do an hour of discussion on Guild Wars 2 or other gaming, whatever. We do an hour actually playing a game and goofing around. And we even have like a Q&A section there. I think both Matt and I get a lot of satisfaction from it. We both enjoy it. There's no big changes that we're planning. The only thing is we want more people to know about its existence. You know, there's probably a lot of people who watch me, they have no idea that the VisualWood podcast goes on at all. Moving on, concrete tucks and audio booking. So this is my second channel. I don't have too much to say here. It is something that's going on, though, and will continue to go on. People who follow my second channel, you will have noticed that there have been a few totally non-gaming related videos on there. I always wanted the second channel as a place that I can throw whatever the heck I like up, and it lets me feel like a normal person, you know, with no set upload precedent, and I get that big creative freedom. And that's basically what that is, these little stories I throw up there. I upgraded my microphone recently, and the thought of upgrading that, of them being able to do like audiobook style stuff or voice acting related stuff, really thrills me. I love the idea of being able to do that. These are easy to make. They're a break from the standard fare that's the rest of my week. If people keep watching them, I'll keep putting them up. Who knows as well, maybe one day I'll get like a real voice acting or audiobook opportunity, and I would grab that with both hands, because it would just be awesome. Moving on, Let's Playing. So, this is the last series thing to talk about with YouTube. Let's Playing is really important to me. 2015 has been fantastic, alright? But I do have one sincere regret. A thing that makes me wish I had more time in the day. And that's the lack of doing Let's Plays of other games recently. The lack of Final Fantasy X-2 specifically. I love that game, and I really want to be playing it with you guys. And I get a lot of requests from people asking me, where is it, where is it, where is it? And I've mentioned the answer to this question is I just don't have the time right now, but as Heart of Thorns dies down, again, earlier, as I mentioned how farm videos and stuff, you may start to see more. X2 is going to fill in that space as soon as Heart of Thorns comes out and we see that things die down a bit. That's my current plans for it. Ideal world, I would have X2 coming out slightly before Heart of Thorns releases, so while there's lots of views, people end up watching it before then. But that is absolutely the goal right now. Nothing has ever beaten the feeling for me of waking up in the morning and reading comments on Let's Play videos. It's just fantastic, and I miss it, and I can't believe so much time has passed already. I do appreciate as well, a lot of people won't be interested in X2 anymore. It's been ages. A lot of people definitely will have forgotten the plot. But I'm committed to this. I'm going to do it. Something happened with Tomb Raider 2013 when we were playing that as well, for those like old people who are still watching me. And this is absolutely going to happen. When it does come back, you might find that the X2 videos specifically are slightly different. I will still be going for the completionist angle, and it will still very much feel like a WoodenPotatoes Let's Play. But that was an insanely complicated project. I still have all my notes, but I may not go ultra or 100% completionist on it like my original plan. Because even I've forgotten a lot of the stuff by this point, so I'm going to have to relearn it. And, you know, we might rein it in a little. You have to consider as well, I do want to get it done because I've got my mind on other stuff, like the new Tomb Raider that's coming out, and people link me a lot of Grimrock style games that I also want to play. It would just be nice to have that freedom. So yeah, that's YouTube. That was the first post that I made, and how this ended up 20 minutes, I have no idea. Maybe I'm elaborating a bit too much on what I wrote here. Let's talk about the next thing. This is pretty exciting, Twitch. So, it's true. I'm going to be on Twitch. Starting very soon, there's going to be a really regular WoodenPotatoes stream. This has been in the works for a while, let me just tell you. A bit of backstory, live streaming hasn't really been my thing. My first stream was around Guild Wars 2's launch, where I played some random games in an attempt to diversify my audience, and I didn't really have very much fun. This is the famous Zelda stream that you might have heard me talking to Matt about before. It probably wasn't as bad as I make out, but it did put me off the website for a long time. This year, though, changed a few things. First, early on in the year, was Heart of Thorns' announcement and the post-show. Matt and I did a couple of very successful streams leading up to that, and on the day, we very comfortably spoke to a live audience of around 60,000 people. If that's not jumping into the deep end of the start, I don't know what is. Second, we had VisualWood went live shortly after. The live show's been really fantastic. It's been a lot more fun for me to record than the old format. It's got me used to looking at chat while I'm also playing the games or doing whatever, and being consistent with a stream like that. It's been awesome. And then even more recently, we had Heart of Thorns Beta Weekend Event 1, where we had the community meetups, and we did a stream on one of those as well, which was equally relaxed, also had really good viewership. So in short, 2015 has made me a lot warmer to the idea of running my own stream. I've been looking into OBS and how to do it over the past couple of weeks. Considering most Guild Wars 2 news comes out in the evenings, when I will want to produce a video, and YouTube's still going to be the priority, as well as a variety of real-life related reasons, like relationships I have and people that I want to be able to communicate with and not, you know, ruin that stuff. This is basically going to be a morning stream. I'm going to wake up, I'll stream in the morning with you guys, and then I'll go off and do my other work. You'll be able to hang out with me for however long you possibly can before school or work if you've got those going on. And that's going to be both on weekdays and weekends. And so the stream's going to be called Potatoes for Breakfast. I always liked waking up in the morning and watching early morning TV, like Everybody Loves Raymond or Friends would always be on. And I like the idea of, you know, we can get this in our schedule and we can hang out and talk a bit about Guild Wars 2 before we go off to do whatever we want for the day. I do appreciate you might not be able to make it in many mornings. It's a bit of a weird time slot. But don't forget, there will be VODs that you can watch whenever the hell you want. And there's also the chance that I'll be doing highlight videos of stuff happening on the stream on the YouTube channel too. Not to mention, this is actually OCX prime time. So, a little bit of love to the Commonwealth out there. Anyone in Australia, New Zealand, I guess some of the Asian territories as well. It should be pretty good. For what it's worth as well, my current aim is to stream very regularly. I'm going to do 5 hours a day in the mornings, 5 to 6 days a week. That's quite a lot, but I do think you have to do quite a lot to stream with any kind of success. I've done a lot of shuffling around on how I produce YouTube videos to accommodate for that time. And I think it should work, but that said, I have no idea whether it will. I'm a complete noob to it, so please view the first month of my stream as something of a trial period. The stream may go away completely after the first month. More likely it will change and it will adapt, and we'll see exactly what the best hours are going to be. There are a lot of plans, and basically this is just what the idealist in me wants, that kind of hour of streaming, but we'll see. So all that said, what are we actually going to see on the stream? Exciting damn stuff, I'll tell you that much. I'm really looking forward to this. So first of all, hardcore leveling. Remember all those videos I've been making about a level up challenge, stuff about a shop, about permadeath, about immersively exploring the world? This is going to be one of the primary features of the stream. This is what we're going to be doing. You can kind of think of this as a live Let's Play of Guild Wars 2. Who remembers that I did a Let's Play of Guild Wars 2 and then it got cut short? Well, except with this, there's also that deadly chance I'm going to die, and I've got like an almost impossible task ahead of me of defeating Zaitan. So as characters die, I've got this cool stuff set up. I'll be immortalizing them in a graveyard that we can all see. There's going to be like a medal case I've got of various objectives I'm going to attempt to complete. I've also got plans to explain the rules to you guys in like a fun way, in an engaging way, in a reasonable way, so that people know what's going on and they're encouraged to join in. Specifically with the stream, guys, there's going to be a very high amount of audience interaction. So you guys, through straw poll and stuff, you guys will be able to vote on what professions I'm trying, what personal story decisions I make, the names of my characters. You can even, I'm going to do this thing where there are giveaways, and you can bet when I make the character on when you think I'm going to die. And you input your bets, and then when the character actually dies, whoever gets closest gets the money. Or if multiple people get closest, then we split the money. We're going to be paying attention to NPCs. We're going to be talking about lore. We're going to be seeing some beautiful places with gorgeous reshade footage. And then, you know, we'll laugh or cry together when inevitably one of my characters dies in a really annoying, dramatic way or a really stupid way. So yeah, and you can even come along as well, because it's live. You'll be able to play alongside me. You can come on your own permadeath tunes or any tune you like that works. Should be fun. That's the main thing. Also, however, there will be other things on the stream. The other video you guys saw go up today kind of goes hand in hand with this one. It's about 3 years ago when the game first came out, and I was playing the press beta, and I did like an entire 12-hour marathon of it. I have a lot of content that I've never been allowed to put up until now, so you will have seen the first episode today. Guess where the rest of them are going to be appearing? I'm going to be doing some PvP, probably every now and then, a few days. I play a lot more PvP than you probably realize or that I talk about on YouTube. There's a reason it's often the background footage on the Q&A. I'll probably spend some time each stream in the mist, trying different builds, showing that with you guys, and having fun or raging. I tend to get a bit ragey with PvP, so we'll see how this goes. I really am very excited about PvP as well. It could go places once leagues are dropped in with Heart of Thorns. It'll be fun to see how high I can climb. Speaking of Heart of Thorns as well, if all goes well, the stream's still going to be going when Heart of Thorns comes out, and that's going to be a really good thing. It means we can play it. Back when Guild Wars 2 came out, on YouTube, I kind of went missing in action for a short while, because I just spent all day, every day, as a huge fan, geeking out, playing the game, and not actually making content. Well, not this time. This time, I'll stream. I'll be streaming all those experiences. I'll be streaming my exploration of the jungle, trying the challenging group content, the elite specializations, unlocking masteries, funny, weird ideas, whatever else is going on. So, as I mentioned earlier as well, we can take short breaks. I've got Tyria 3D set up as well. I've got all of this set up in OBS, by the way. I've got various overlays and cool things. It's all ready to go. Tyria 3D, so maybe once a week or every now and then, we can totally go and have a look at Tyria 3D maps that I haven't ever shown on YouTube. Or even we can go back at old ones and we can look closer at Fortune's Veil. You guys can be like, hey, WP, I want to look at this map. You never really showed it off that well in the video. Still, nobody's got access to them. Can you show it? And then, you know, we'll get to run back into that stuff. Last of all, Matt's going to be be on my stream, just as I've been on his, and, you know, for the podcast and for the beta weekend meetup that we did and stuff. He'll be there to chat stuff with me. This could be a little bit further off in the future. But, you know, he can come on and he can hardcore level with me. We can even play other games. We'll be playing, you know, random indie games, relive the daily deal days. You guys who watched the most recent VisualWood podcast will have heard us talking about Monstrum. Yeah, Matt will come on the stream and we will play Monstrum for you guys. So these are opportunities to get back a lot of these things we haven't heard about for a long time. Even AAAs, just chat to each other in the morning, basically, and put on a good show for you guys. Not only Monstrum, but there's also an 8-part series I still have on my hard drive you guys may have heard about from VisualWood, where Matt and I played a game called Ether 1. We never finished it, but there's like a couple of hours of content of him and me playing the game, messing around, joking about stuff that no one's ever seen. Yeah, that can totally be a thing. And the last little cool thing that I want to do for the stream is there are going to be reruns. So most I'll explain what I mean by this. Most streams have that weird period of time at the start or the end where there's nothing but music playing. And that's often so that the streamer can let everyone know that they are about to go live and everyone comes in and you've got a reasonable audience before you start. It's to bring the numbers up. Or, like, they'll put it on because the streamer's going AFK and, you know, some people just leave for, like, 20 minutes or something. So for Potatoes for Breakfast, instead of doing the music thing, which has got copyright issues and weird stuff like that, if I ever wanted to upload these as VODs onto YouTube myself. Instead, what I'm going to use is just those times to air some old YouTube videos I've made that you've probably never seen. How many of you guys have ever seen, like, my Limbo Let's Play, for example? But more specifically, so that the stream will start each day, and we're going to begin with the Guild Wars 1 Let's Play. So the stream will start with, you know, a couple of episodes of Prophecies, and you guys will get to watch that live. I'll be in chat too most of the time, and we'll get to talk about it as it runs through. You'll marvel at how different I was back then. I will remember some old lore stuff. It should be really cool. So this I've got ready to go. I could just quickly slap one of those videos on if I ever leave, and that should make the stream just that little bit extra interesting, a little bit more. You know, I've tried to think about ways I can improve from other streams that I've seen. And yeah, after Prophecies is over, maybe we can keep doing Guild Wars 1 videos, or maybe we can show off, you know, like BioShock or whatever else. So yeah, that's the plan for Twitch. That's what's going on. In the end, I do want to say I'm still basically a noob with it. I've never really done it, so I've not given much thought to a lot of other stuff that goes on Twitch. Like, people do overlays with donations, they do stuff with subscribers, they do, like, there's getting partnered on Twitch, there's finding mods. I haven't looked at any of that stuff, and I'm just hoping that that will come in time. Like, I've just tried to think of what would be something really cool to watch every morning, and then I'll just figure that other stuff as it goes along. So the third and final topic is Patreon. I wanted to leave this to the end because the people who are still listening to this or will still be reading the thread are probably people a little bit more engaged. It's not like I'm just throwing up a video going like, hey, sub to my Patreon. So here's the idea. Early in the year, again, I did this post where I talked to you guys about what I wanted to do, the setup that I wanted to improve, all that kind of stuff. Early in the year, I started accepting donations, and a lot of people brought up Patreon. They said, hey, why don't you do Patreon? You know, everyone was doing Patreon at that time. I did say at the time I wasn't against Patreon. I just hadn't given it much thought. I wanted to be sure if I was going to do it that I would give people decent stuff. There'd be good reason for it. So here's the update. I've got several reasons why I'm doing it and several thoughts about how I can offer people good things for being a part of it. So, and there's going to be a bit of realness here. So reason number one is going to be visibility for existing donators. So yeah, early in the year, some people dropped donations and it's been amazing. It really has. I've not made it super obvious that anyone can donate to me. I've tried not to throw that at people, but just having it there has meant I've been able to invest a couple of donations I've had come in. You guys know who you are if you're listening, and I've been able to invest every penny of that, except maybe like a pizza, into making videos, and I think everyone's seen some benefit, all those upgrades I was talking about before. But here's the problem. The donations are cool, but there's been one problem. Every time someone's donated, I've never really felt like they have been getting much out of it on an individual level. I just can't understand it. I feel like if I donated to me, I would be disappointed afterwards. I'd be like, all right, I just gave this guy some money. All right, well, what do I get? Like, what do they get? What do they get? A small thank you if you go out of your way to otherwise tell me, hey, I donated and I know where to get in contact with you. What else do people get from that? And, like, I've always felt like I'm not offering enough for anyone who's being generous. So with Patreon, if you do it, you at least get your name on the list. I know who you are. I can talk to you. And then I can offer you other perks as well to boot. And that's really, really important. The truth is as well, most donations did stop, right? There are a couple of people who still do it, like, completely selflessly. And what I want to do is thank those people, but the idea is actually to encourage something more consistent. which is going to move me on to reason 2, and this is kind of a bit of real life stuff here, which I don't often talk about. And that's the idea of moving out, all right? So in early August 2012, let's go on a history lesson, a WoodenPotatoes history lesson, I quit my job working in IT and training in business consultancy. It was a real career, and it was a good I was fairly good at too. However, at the time, given the success of WoodenPotatoes, I decided I could either quit and give video production a shot, or basically keep doing what I was doing and spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? What if I did quit? What if I had made it? I don't regret the decision I made, because I would always have been wondering, so I'm happy with the decision I made. But in the last 3 years, since launch came around, views dried up, and I've never really been able to earn that much. I've been with my family living on very cheap rent that sometimes I've been scraping to pay, earning like below minimum wage, right? So it's not really a real job. Like, if people ask me, do you do YouTube full time? And I never really know how to answer that, because I don't consider it doing it unless like you're actually earning a living properly, right? So while I have been very happy, this isn't a sob story, I've been very happy the last 3 years. It is true though that my life's basically on hold, and there are only so many years you can keep that up. I do want a change for that at some point. And this expansion's really got me thinking about the future of doing this, and in this franchise specifically, and so forth. So one thing that's been going in my favor with Heart of Thorns and so forth are these Guild Wars 2 buy links. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I can't really talk about them too much, but Heart of Thorns has proven that at least while the expansions are releasing, there may be a very real chance of doing this properly, which is great. But how do I know that this is any different to when I originally quit 3 years ago? Like, really think about it. It's exactly the same. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of viewership. When the expansion releases, though, there's going to be a huge drop-off. This happens all the time in the amount of people that watch me, and as well, specifically, is the people using those links to buy the game. People don't have anything to buy, right? So I go back to square one. I can't act right now on anything like moving out and getting my own place, because I have no assurance that what I'm doing is sustainable at all. You know, in a couple of months, it just all falls down like a house of cards. So that's where Patreon comes in. I think the website literally exists for that. It never existed 3 years ago. Maybe this time around, I can earn something reasonable. It can be a little bit different. And as well, I'll be able to pursue more opportunities. Money isn't just about living, it's about making and doing cooler stuff on YouTube. So this is reason 3. And what I specifically want to talk about here is the Lore series, the much awaited for Lore series. So it happens to have been as well 3 years since the Lore series started. I used to work on that. I can reveal this, it's fine. I used to write the scripts and stuff for that while I was working my full-time job. I used to go to my full-time job, bust out my responsibilities I was supposed to do as fast as possible, and every other second during my breaks, all of that stuff, I'd just be typing and typing and typing away. That's what I did. I like doubled up working full-time and writing the scripts. Anyway, so a lot of stuff's changed, and the Lore series is on hold. I've discussed at length before a whole load of reasons why it's on hold, but one important one I do want to focus on here for Patreon is the idea of working with artists, all right? The Lore series was produced before, in case you don't know this, by members of the community, all right, who just made art. It was nothing more than a favor to me, and it was on their own time. All they got out of it was me saying, oh yeah, a lot of people might watch the video, and I can link to your Deviant art or something. That was all I've ever been able to afford or give people, right? And while it's been a lovely thing for guys to actually step up, and there are artists willing to do that, and there was some incredible work there too. The guy that made the Cormier like animation joke video was doing lore for one of these videos. All right, but while that was really nice of them, it also introduced a lot of micromanagement to making the videos. Often, basically what I would have to do was I'd use a group of people for a single video. That's why you can see contrasting art styles in some of them. And when you have a group of people, we then all have to meet up. We have to organize meeting up, and that in itself can be a complete pain. But then we would have meetings about ideas. You'd have to decide specifically who wanted to do art of what to fit the script. Then you'd have to portion it all out and attribute the work to the different people. You'd have to come up with deadlines about when everything was coming in. You'd have to do like quality checks to make sure things were actually going correct, and so on. And looking at everything else I've talked about today, hopefully you can see that I don't have much time for that. So should this campaign do well, I can just pay an artist for their work, right? And that cuts away so many of the problems. It means they do high quality art. It is made by like one guy or you know, two guys that we figure it out, right? It's produced a lot more consistently, and I don't have to worry. It was always really hard to enforce a deadline on a person who's just doing a favor for me, because it's like, oh, well, you have to have this finished. But in the end, they're just helping me out for free. Like, what hold do I really have? You know, that's such an asshole-ish thing, and it was weird. I didn't like it. So I want a better way of doing it, and paying people would be pretty much perfect. I would say many of the other reasons for the series' delay are still 100% valid. I would still like to upload them, for example, when the subject material is most relevant, if I can help it. So, you know, if this does well, we could see a Cantha video before they announce Cantha, for example. But that is still very much on my mind. So I do really want to stress, it seems a bit weird to shoehorn this in here, but these episodes will still be on the rarer side. It won't be like one a week comes out. It won't even be like one every 3 months maybe comes out. I really couldn't tell you right now because there are so many of those other reasons. But at least, you know, it's that guaranteed they're in production and you know when they come out, they would look really good. Anyway, that's just one thing I'd like to be able to do. That's the deal. 3 big main reasons. You've got people are donating anywhere. I want something better for them. I want to make this something I'm genuinely doing for a living. And 3, this is going to directly fund the production of videos. And isn't that last one that I just said basically exactly what the Patreon website's for? So yeah, there is one final reason though that I want to do this, and this is to do with things I can offer people. So again, I upgraded my PC earlier in the year. You guys will have heard when I was upgrading my PC, it still annoys me to this day, but it was very frustrating back then. You guys have heard me complain about YouTube compression. You've heard me complain about the website in general being a pain. Now, to those of you who are unaware, when you put a video on YouTube, the website applies its own encoding to the file you put on there to shrink it down as small as possible. And it's in their best interest to do that because of bandwidth, so that people aren't buffering all the time. It's fine, right? YouTube has to work that way. But basically, when you have a high motion game like Guild Wars 2, and specifically a high motion game that also has a lot of detail work on it, like Guild Wars 2, when you have that being uploaded at something like 1080p 60 frames per second, they compress the hell out of it. It loses a lot of detail, and you get horrible artifacting and screen blurring. You'll notice on any of my videos, if I'm stood still and not moving the camera, it looks gorgeous, but then as I'm running around, suddenly everything blurs over. It's horrendous. I can't even watch my own videos on YouTube full screen when I'm testing stuff out because it irritates the hell out of me. Basically, there is a huge difference between the quality of the videos I have on my hard drive and then when I actually click to upload them on YouTube. So I mentioned this before. Wouldn't it be great if I could just give you those videos directly without YouTube compressing them? So if people are going to be supporting, this can be a perk I give people. I can pay for online storage, and then I can allow the bigger contributors to get direct access to those videos. And then that means you get the videos higher quality. It means you get them advertisement free as well. I know people can run ad block, but for those who don't, or those that might feel bad about running ad block, you get that clear conscience. And the other thing as well is you get them early. That YouTube processing I just talked about is no joke. It doesn't just destroy your videos, but it takes a long time to do with the way that I upload. There are certain processes you can do where it goes through very quickly, but mine don't. It can be hours. So this actually means you get my videos, whenever they go up, like a lot earlier than everyone else. So I will say, with this incentive, this isn't cheap. This isn't meant to be super, super duper cheap either. I've priced it a bit higher because it's a little worrying too. People who get this basically have no incentive ever to actually visit WoodenPotatoes on the website ever again. They got no reason really to watch the videos. And what that means is they don't comment anymore. They might not be liking anymore. They might not be sharing it anymore. The analytics of like audience retention and all that stuff I no longer get. Things don't appear higher on search algorithms. So like if I put this at like $1, all right, it could do some serious damage to the channel. So I have priced it conservatively for that. There's also the fact that I'm a little bit concerned if again, I've priced it really cheap and everyone does it, it could even stress the service that I use to share, and then you don't even get them early or whatever, and then that would just be a bit of a nightmare too. Primarily, don't forget, this is about supporting, and these are perks for that, so I want people to think of that primarily than anything else. But yeah, so that's the stuff that's on my mind there. Other incentives that I can offer on Patreon, they're going to be smaller. In particular, and you guys will see on the website, I'm going to do special Q&A videos for patron people. That's something pretty basic I see a lot of people do, and Q&As are really fun. And essentially, if you became a patron and you were on that tier, it's like almost a guaranteed. I'm scared to say a guaranteed because if tons of people do it, then maybe it's not going to be guaranteed. But you get an insanely high chance of having your question answered on any topic in the goddamn world. Like, you know, there's something really basic that I can do, and I'd be happy to do that. You guys will find other small little perks, but those are the main ones. That's what I really want to do. There aren't too many other things I can really happily think of offering. So the campaign, you'll see, it doesn't have some insane, like, oh, this tier, and then this tier, and then this tier, like insane marketing thing. I don't want that. I don't want people who don't support as well to feel like they're missing out on stuff. And, you know, frankly, to be honest with you, I would feel really uneasy about selling parts of myself. Like, hey, if you give me $200, you get a chance to talk to me on Skype. Like, that just seems weird. I'm just a guy, right? So I want to keep it simple, and that's basically the way that I'm dealing with it. So that's it. That's the 3 posts. Thank you to anyone who listened the whole way here. I can't believe this ended up a 40-minute video. That's the state of the channel and everything that I've got as plans. And hopefully, you know, in another 6 months or so, I can do another thing like this. And you guys will know what came about from it. You can drop any questions or whatever you like in the Reddit thread or in the comments. And I'll definitely be responding. This stuff's important to me. And anyone who gets this far, that's fucking awesome, basically, if you're still listening. Thank you very much. If you are sincerely considering the Patreon option, it's just a couple of clicks from the link below. But yeah, all the relevant stuff, at least if you're curious, you want to check it out, are down below. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'd love to know what you think. Cheers. This has been Wooden Potatoes. I look forward to seeing you guys on the stream and all the other new stuff. Catch you next time, guys.